Good afternoon, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the November 5th meeting of the City of Watsonville Planning Commission. Could we have a roll call of commissioners, please?
Corley,
Here.
Dana,
Here.
Gomez Concheras,
Here.
Gonzalez,
Here.
Jenkins.
Here.
Sarmiento,
Here.
Castillo.
Here. Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice and liberty for all. Thank you. Item 3.0, petitions and oral communications. Oral communications from the general public and from members of the Planning Commission. This is a time set aside for members of the general public to address the Planning Commission on any item that is not on the agenda. So I'd like to open the oral communications from the general public. Is there anyone from the general public who wants to speak on any item that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'd like to close the oral communications from the general public. Any comments from members of the Planning Commission? Let's start with Commissioner Sarmiento. Thank you. Aurelio? Mireya?
Nothing to share today.
Nothing for me, Pedro.
Marty?
Nothing. Just can't remember.
You're
the date.
keeping me on. Thank you. Consent agenda, 4.1, motion approving minutes for the October 1st, 2013 regular meeting. We've got the minutes. Any corrections, additions, deletions? Can I hear a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Aurelio, second?
Second.
Second by Mireya. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstention from Jenny Sarmiento. 5.0, moving to public hearings. 5.1, a public hearing to consider an application for a special use permit to allow the conversion of a 1,452 square foot first floor office space to a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath unit at 930 Freedom Boulevard. Filed by Carrie Torresillas Davis, applicant, owner. We'll first have the staff presentation, then the applicant can make a presentation, public hearing, commission discussion, and/or recommendation.
Thank you, Chair Castillo.
Keith, staff.
Members of the public, Keith Boyle with Community Development Department. Tonight's application is a special use permit to convert a bottom floor office to a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath unit at, that was the end of that one. I started at the end. Sorry about that. The property is an 8,300 square foot parcel, currently has 3 units on it, and the 1,400 square foot office. It's zoned neighborhood commercial. The zoning allows a mixture of residential and commercial uses. This is the site here. There's a shared driveway, and the properties are owned by the same owner. This is the site in question, and this is Freedom Boulevard. The neighborhood commercial zone allows conversion of office uses to residential as long as it's approved by the Planning Commission. This is an overview of the site plan. There are 8 existing spaces. They're adding another space, and then with the shared driveway and the adjacent residential development that's owned by the same people, overflow parking is available adjacent to the use. This is the floor plan of the conversion. Again, this is the existing office. They're just basically adding a kitchen, moving a couple of walls around. So it's a fairly minor modification, no external additional square footage. As part of the parking analysis, units require 2 spaces per unit plus 1 space for every 4 bedrooms. With this calculation, there's a total of 9 spaces required. The project provides that, and also there is adjacent parking, and it makes it consistent with the regulations. We're incorporating standard conditions requiring maintenance of existing driveway and landscaping, and a building permit will be required as part of the application. Just one issue, Ron Gordon, the project designer of the project, called me and asked for some further clarification on the fire sprinkler requirement, which is condition 19. And I talked with the fire department, and they made an additional determination looking at the conversion of the commercial use to a residential use was a less intensive use. And although it currently does not have sprinklers, since it's a less intensive use, they determined that the sprinkler was no longer required. So I would recommend that you delete condition 19 as part of your action. With that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the project subject to the findings and conditions that are listed in your staff report.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, I'd like to ask, is the applicant here or someone representing the applicant? Would you like to address the Planning Commission or just entertain questions? What?
I'm Kelly Davis Torcius. And I ask that you just approve my application to turn the existing office space into an apartment. I've had it for lease as an apartment for the past 8 months, and it's very difficult to lease office space as it is in a good portion of Watsonville right now. It's just very quiet and soft in that particular market, and I think it's a natural fit to have an apartment here.
Any questions for the applicant?
Is this the unit that faces Freedom Boulevard?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. This is a public hearing, so I'd like to open it up to the public. If there's anyone from the public who wants to address this item, please step forward. Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing and bring it up for the commission discussion, recommendation, clarification, adjudication.
I'll go ahead and move to approve with the deletion of item 19 on the conditions.
It's been moved to adopt a resolution approving the application by Rick. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mireya. Any discussion? Can we have a roll call, please?
Corley,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Gomez Contreras,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Sarmiento,
Yes.
Castillo.
Yes. A motion approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 5.2, a public hearing to consider an application for a special use permit to allow the establishment of a restaurant, California Grill, with liquor sales, type 47 license at 1970 Freedom Boulevard, filed by the California Grill. Again, we'll first have staff presentation. Susie.
Thank you, Chairman Castillo, members of the Planning Commission. The restaurant at 1970 Freedom Boulevard, the California Grill, was created as part of the Freedom Center development. The Freedom Center shopping center with Safeway and all the other stores up there. It's been in business for many years. However, the current owner purchased the business approximately a year ago. Look, I can change slides. Here's an aerial of the entire property, and if you're not familiar, Freedom Grill is up in this right corner, right at the entrance to the shopping center off of Freedom Boulevard. The applicants were able to purchase a Type 47 liquor license through a lottery that the Alcoholic Beverage Control Department holds on an annual basis. And in conjunction with that, the applicants have submitted an application for a special use permit to actually sell liquor at the restaurant. Currently, they have just a beer and wine license. So all the different requirements, we require a special use permit for Type 47 liquor licenses in the Thoroughfare Commercial Zoning District. And then ABC also has the Type 47 with licensing process with additional requirements. Minors may be on the premises during normal hours, and food must be available during normal meal times. Now, our alcohol ordinance has minimum separation requirements for restaurants that sell liquor, bars, and convenience stores that sell liquor. So up on your screen, you can see the separation requirements. The restaurant has to be 500 feet from a convenience store with either beer and wine sales or liquor sales, or a restaurant with liquor sales, a restaurant with a bar, 1,000 feet from a liquor store, or 1,000 feet from a bar. So it meets all of those distance requirements and therefore is eligible for consideration for the special use permit. This just is a map showing, again, the different distance requirements. And this one up here, this Type 21 is Safeway. That doesn't count because it's a grocery store. There's nothing else in that area.
What's 21? Excuse me.
Sorry,
Susan.
the 21, that is off sale for Safeway.
Oh,
Because it's a grocery store, there aren't distance requirements for that.
Quick question. What about the Rite Aid?
Rite Aid's considered, I'm not sure about that. It doesn't show up. Actually, this,
That's
No.
the other 21.
The other
That's
21.
this
yeah,
one.
the other 21,
But
sorry,
it's,
there's
it's
two.
it's over 10,000 square feet, so that meets the definition of not requiring the separation requirements.
How about Wingstop? They have a
Wingstop.
license?
Wingstop
That's-
only had beer and wine.
Yeah, actually, there's a new restaurant where Wingstop is, and that's also got beer and wine. But beer and wine, Type 41, Type 21 for a grocery store do not have distance requirements. So we're looking at places like the Wooden Nickel.
How about the VFW? Don't they have a bar in the back?
They don't count either.
They don't count either?
Yeah, yeah. There's only a certain types of uses. If I go back, let's see. The liquor store, restaurant with liquor sales and bar, convenience store with liquor sales, or convenience store with beer and wine sales. So the proposed hours of operation are Sunday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Friday and Saturday open till 9:30 a.m., which is acceptable for a restaurant, and normal meal times without entertainment. The restaurant has, just to look at the floor plan, this is the main entrance. They've got a large dining area over here. They've got the kitchen in the back. There is no separate bar area in the restaurant. And they also have like a banquet room to the side. The review of police department data for this, since it is a new Type 47 license at this location. The census tract is not over-concentrated with alcohol licenses. The police responsibility area is a high crime area. That's because it's also including the Cary Davis area. It's a rather large responsibility area. However, this portion of that RA is pretty pretty low crime. There's not a lot right in this area. No calls for service related to alcohol sales have been recorded in the last year since new ownership has taken over. So the The special use permit, as you know, allows for us to place additional conditions on businesses when it is deemed necessary to reduce adverse impacts. With the given hours for the proposed hours for the restaurant and no proposal for any entertainment, staff is recommending just that all servers and managers take lead training within 6 months, and that a video surveillance system be installed in the restaurant, and working with the chief of police to determine exactly where the cameras should be placed. With that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the project as conditioned.
Thank you, Susie. Any questions for staff?
I have a few.
Marty?
They already had an existing beer and wine license, correct?
Yes.
When they got that approved, was it in there that they were supposed to have leads training? And if it was, did they have it completed?
Usually on the administrative use permits, no, we don't require lead training. I'd have to check that, though.
So I guess with the banquet room, would they really can't do entertainment in there. They would be able to serve drinks and so on, but in order to do any type of, have a party there, anything like that, they'd have to come back for that entertainment permit. So this is essentially for serving drinks. There's no bar. So
No
it'd be
bar.
essentially serving drinks to people for dinner, not just wine and beer, but alcohol, more harder drinks.
Yes.
Other questions? Jenny?
What about the servers? I've been at the restaurant, and I like to say that they definitely have really good food. But I've noticed that a lot of the servers appear to be very young, under 21. So is there a requirement on the age of the server?
Oh, I'd have to check with the ABC rules. I believe to serve, you have to be 18, but someone who is 21 or over has to be on the premises at any time. And again, we are conditioning the staff report to require that all servers and managers attend lead training.
And the age requirement as well?
Well, by law, they have to be at least 18.
Okay.
Other questions? Marty?
You did mention it was in a high crime rate
High crime area,
area.
yes.
How does that affect, the police department? Did they have to approve this with a written letter?
They do not. We checked into that.
So how is that different than downtown Watsonville?
The difference is that it's not over-concentrated and it's not high crime. You have to essentially be both to require a letter of public convenience and necessity.
Questions?
Yeah, on the time, is that going to be extended from the hours of operation that exist now?
I talked to them about that. 9 and 9:30 is all they want. They do not want entertainment. So that is what's in the staff report. That is what
Yeah, but my question is, are they extending their time?
Oh, no.
Or is it staying
I
the
believe it's the
standard
same
time
as it
operations
is
have been
now.
using?
Yes.
Questions? Rick?
Do they need to come back to, those times, are they stuck with those times? What if they decide they want to go till 11? They don't have to come back to us for that, right?
They would have
They
to come
would,
back
huh?
to
Okay.
us, yes.
Susie, I'm just curious about purchase a liquor license from ABC through a lottery process. I'm just curious, how does that work? I mean, is it, the state of California says for 2013, there's a lottery for 100 and everybody puts in and then they draw like the lottery and...
I asked ABC myself because this isn't something we see very often. And apparently every year there's a certain amount of alcohol licenses that may become available. And these are licenses that either someone has surrendered, that nobody has purchased. It's not like it's an absolutely new license that they say you can have 5 more this year than you had last year. It's some kind of license that was surrendered for some reason and wasn't purchased by another party. Some years they have them, some years they have none. This year, they had this liquor license, and
And if they have a certain number, let's say 100, can they all go to Santa Cruz County or to Watsonville? Or do they have to be spread out? Or
I believe this lottery was only for this license that was in this area.
Oh.
And then they also check to make sure that wherever the business that's buying it is located is not over-concentrated. So there are a few hoops that you have to jump through before you can even purchase it.
Thanks. Other questions for staff? Thank you. I think the applicant is here. Mr. Peixoto, want to come up and make a statement or answer questions or both?
Sure. I'm Dick Peixote. I'm co-owner with my daughter Ashley Peixote. And first off, I can answer a couple questions. It said a lottery, but actually it's an auction. So what happened is the license actually was repossessed by the state because of some legal problems they had. And so they put them up at auction when that happens. And so we bid at auction to get the license. So that's how that happened there. We are extending our hours by half hour more. We're asking for half hour more on the hours. And none of our servers are under 21. So they look extremely young, but they are all 21. And we did have a younger one there earlier, and we were very specific about even her serving wine. She wasn't able to serve wine for that reason. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about our business, just so you know, as far as it's really, I have a lot of you probably know I have a larger company called Lakeside Organic Gardens. That's kind of my business, and I've really kind of started this for my daughter she's always had a passion for restaurant and cooking, and so I really, bought this with her to have her run this. Our goal is to really take kind of a diner type restaurant and set it up as a fine dining establishment. We've hired some excellent chefs, and we're really building a really strong clientele as far as the following, not only here in Watsonville, but we're pulling a lot of people from mid-county and even from Santa Cruz that are coming over because we're serving all local items and organic items. And so we've got quite a following there. But, one of the things we keep hearing is, geez, we'd come in more if you just had liquor. We don't want to come in here and spend all night drinking, but we like to have a cocktail with dinner. And so one of our goals to step it up is to just supply that. We don't really want to open a bar per se. We don't want to open a dance hall. We do have a banquet room, and we quite often have company meetings in there for different people. We have birthday parties, but we don't really have loud music or anything like that. It's we're pretty specific about what they do in that, and we're trying to retain the atmosphere of a fine dining establishment as opposed to a bar atmosphere. So our goal is to really just do table service and offer that as an extra for the people that we're serving, and that's the whole reason for it. It's not really to change much other than to supply that to the people. Any questions?
Questions for the applicant? Seeing none? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is a public hearing, so I'd like to open it up for the general public. Anyone from the public who wants to make a comment on this item? Welcome, council member.
Thank you very much.
Ex-planning commissioner.
Yes, I'm making rounds, aren't I? Yes, I'm here to also provide my support to the Peixotes about the restaurant itself. We're looking at making the ordinance come through for them for the liquor. This has to do with the reputation of a very fine company that's been here in town, established for many years. And with that reputation, they know what their responsibilities are for this license to be issued to them, and for them to be able to be responsible with the alcohol that they are serving at the restaurant itself. They're very conservative overall. They're conservative on their hours. They are not looking to make exceptions to the standard of having a fine dining restaurant here in our community, and being able to have that as an option to serve other things besides the beer and the wine with the food that they have here. And so I would strongly encourage you to support the request made for the facility to be able to serve and be issued the license with the recommendation given by the city staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Trina Coffin-Gomez. Anyone else wants to address this item? To public hearing? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing and bring it back up to the commission for discussion and or recommendation.
I'll move that we go ahead and adopt the application, the resolution, the special use permit.
Second.
It's been moved by Rick, seconded by Aurelio. Any discussion?
It's a pretty easy one. I think that's exactly what we're looking for. It's good food, and it's nice to see someone come in and not always ask for an entertainment permit for the evening. So you're on your way to fine dining, I'll say that for sure.
Other comments? Roll call, please.
Corley?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Gomez Contreras?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Jenkins? Sarmiento?
Yes.
Castillo?
Yes. Pass unanimously, and we'll see you at the California Grill. Moving on to item 5.3, a public hearing to consider an application for a special use permit to allow an outdoor display of produce along the public sidewalk in front of Vicky's Market at 321 Rodriguez Street, filed by Martin Ramirez, the applicant.
Thank you, Chair Castillo, members of the community. Tonight's application is coming before you as a result of the AY Market hearing. It was mentioned that there was concern about Vicky's Produce also displaying areas outside. So we pursued a code enforcement action on them and recommended that they come in for the special use permit as we did with AY Market. The site is Zone CCA, which is the Central Core Commercial Area. It's about 12,000 square foot parcel with a 6,000 square foot building, as you can see here. The application, again, is to allow the outdoor display of produce. They have been working with the United Way to come up with providing organic produce and providing healthy material. This outdoor display has helped provide exposure for the business, and it has been something that has really been beneficial. And again, as we talked about the last time, anything we can do to promote activity downtown, we feel is good. And this is, the outdoor display is allowed by section 1426030 if it's done professionally and it doesn't block the access, and that is approved with a special use permit by the Planning Commission. The applicant is proposing to construct 4 wheeled vehicles, carts, basically. These are the dimensions. They're proposing 4 in the front of the store. This will not extend out into the right-of-way area as the pallets previously did. So it alleviates the issues that we were previously having with the original proposal. Requires a use permit. The display racks have been reduced in size to meet the requirements to reduce blocking access. They've been designed with wheels so they can come in and out during the daylight hours, which it's been conditioned to allow. This is the front of the store. As you can see, they have a nicely done window painting. It's very attractive in that area. The standard conditions we looked at the last AY Market hearing. They need to have insurance, liability insurance, satisfactory to our risk manager. We won't have outdoor music. The display must be kept clean and have professional lettering. It's between dusk and dawn. The sidewalk has to be clean. They can only display produce, and it'll come back to the Planning Commission for a 3-month review. This permit will be a 3-year permit, and they will have to come back after that time to renew it if they would like. And that concludes my presentation. We're recommending that the Planning Commission approve it based on the findings and conditions in the staff report.
Thank you, Keith. Any questions for staff?
So Keith, I know that when the other gentleman came in last month, he said they were displaying paper towels or toilet paper or something. Is there a limit on what you can
Yeah,
display?
we're basically saying that you can only display produce. That is a requirement of the conditions. We won't allow toilet paper to be displayed.
Not denying the need for it, but it might not be the proper product placement.
Jenny?
And I think you mentioned this, the dimensions of the bins are exactly the same dimensions as the other store that
They're
received
a little bit
approval, or-
different, although the applicant might want to talk about it. There was something that I made some recommendations to AY Market that I'm not sure if that transpired or not. So I'll let the applicant talk about it.
Other questions for staff? Thank you, Keith. Is the applicant here, Mr. Ramirez? You can say something, or else you can just take questions, or both.
Yes, I'll just take questions.
Jenny, I think you had questions about.
Right, I just wanted to find out about the dimensions of the bins that you will be using.
It'll be 32 inches wide and 4 feet long.
Not being really good at, getting the visual effect. Keith, would you mind kind of pointing at how far they would go out?
Basically, they come out to the edge of the sidewalk, that they don't extend over.
Okay.
This is about 32 inches.
Can I ask one question? In here, you says you're gonna paint them or have them brown or something. Have you thought about any kind of color stand out?
Yes, actually, yeah, we're gonna do probably one of each color to make them stand out.
Yeah, you don't have to do this, but I would imagine just
Yeah,
to have a red one and a pink one and an
Originally-
orange one, and, just real bright colors, and people going by will want to stop and get some oranges or something.
yeah. Originally, we thought of brown, but then we noticed, or we saw the ones that AY Market did, and we thought it was a good idea, and
Yeah.
we're planning to do the same thing.
Yeah, just a point. AY Market has a few bins available if you want to talk to them. You might not have to build them. They built a few too many, so.
Okay, thank you.
Have you seen an increase in your business from these?
When we had them outside, yeah,
You do, huh?
we did. Now that we don't have them, our sales went down again.
Are they bringing people in, or they're just buying the stuff in your bins out front, or are they actually literally bringing clients into your, do you think they're bringing clients into your store?
It is bringing clients, and we do sell more volume when we have it outside.
Any other questions for Mr. Ramirez?
Have you been cleaning the sidewalks?
Yes,
Is it, okay, good.
every day.
So that's not going to be a problem going forward.
Yeah, every day.
This is also the fall, and there's leaves all over town and in our backyards. And
Yeah.
I have just a general question. What happens during the rainy season? Do you put the bins out, or they're covered?
Yeah, you can see that there is
Well,
an overhang.
a roof, or I don't know how to say it.
no.
Overhang.
Overhang, yeah, thank you.
So the answer is yes? Because I would imagine even the rain,
Right.
might still hit seems kind of a high overhang.
Yeah, if it's raining a lot, no, we won't bring them out, because we don't want the product to get wet.
Yeah, but the oranges still get wet on the tree,
I have a general question. This is a kind of far-reaching out question, but due to how much traffic you have of youngsters from the high school in Ceiba, what would you say? Do you expose the kids to any produce that they can purchase outside as you're displaying, or is this just mainly for, big cantaloupes?
I didn't understand that. Can you repeat?
You have kids from the school areas. How much kids do you get into your produce at their lunch hours, I guess is the question.
We get a lot from the Ceiba, not from the other high school. We do get a lot of them.
Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, so I'd like to open it up for the public. Is there anyone from the public who wants to address this item? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing and bring it back to the Planning Commission for discussion and/or recommendation. Any discussion, recommendations? Marty?
I make a recommendation that we approve the special use permit.
It's been moved by Marty Corley that we approve this. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jenny Sarmiento. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Corley?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Gomez Contreras?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Sarmiento?
Yes.
Jenkins?
Yes.
Castillo?
Yes. Approved unanimously. Mr. Ramirez, thank you very much, and get those bins out there. I'd like to move on to item 5.4, a public hearing to consider an application for a special use permit with design review and environmental review to allow the installation of a telecommunications facility to include a 90-foot tree, monopine, at 795 Vista Montaña Drive, filed by Bechtel Communications on behalf of AT&T Wireless. We'll first have staff, Susie.
Thank you, Chairman Castillo, members of the commission. Bechtel Communications has submitted an application for a special use permit with design review for the installation of a monopine telecommunications facility near the ball fields at Franich Park for AT&T. The facility will include an 85-foot monopole screened by a fake pine tree with a total overall height of 90 feet. The facility will have a total of 12 antennae located between 65 and 79 feet above ground. The monopine will be located in it's approximately 840 square foot fenced area that will also include a 100 square foot equipment cabinet. The cabinet will be manufactured to resemble the existing buildings in this portion of the park with blue siding, tile roof, green trim, and rock veneer. Just to give you a little bit of background, the Federal Communications Act of 1996 allows local governments to regulate the appropriate zoning districts in which telecommunications uses may be constructed, as well as the height and design of structures. The Act prohibits local governments from making any regulations on the potential health effects of non-ionizing electromagnetic radiation. In 2003, the city of Watsonville adopted a telecommunications ordinance to regulate the appropriate zoning districts and designs of telecommunications sites and facilities. It includes specific requirements that wireless communications companies must comply with to show that coverage is necessary in the area where the facility is proposed to be located. Franich Park is in an institutional zoning district in which telecommunications facilities are conditionally allowable with the approval of a special use permit with design review. So I just want to go through a few of the major submittal requirements for the project. The first being a site plan showing the distance of the proposed facility from residentially zoned parcels, residential uses, major roads, and any other telecommunications site or facility within 1,000 square feet of the location. So this striped yellow square is part of Franich Park. It's the antenna is proposed to be located about here. As you can see in the adjacent zoning districts, we've got medium density residential is the orange, high density residential. We've got agricultural land in the county, and then right adjacent is Ansoldo Elementary School. There are no other telecommunications facilities located within 1,000 feet of the proposed site. Just to go back to that, we also looked because there is an adjacent school as well as adjacent residential. The 90-foot tower or monopine must be at least twice the structure's height from the property line of any residentially zoned or residentially designated property, and any parcel containing a residential unit and or any public or private school. So we've got those surrounding the park. That 90-foot pole will be at least 180 feet from all residences and the adjacent school. It's actually going to be 391 feet from the nearest adjacent residence and 243 feet from the adjacent school property. They were also required to submit photo simulations of existing views and then views with the proposed monopine installed. This is looking from the parking lot to the west, adjacent to the school. So you can see it existing and proposed with the antenna. This is the other side, as you can see the light standards for the ball field and then the proposed monopine. Then finally, this is a view from the park. And then here's the actual plan showing the height. You can see on these elevations the proposal for the fenced lease area and then the actual monopine. You can see there's 2 levels of antenna that are going to be on the monopole, and then how the foliage goes up and over to better screen the antenna. So a radio frequency analysis is also required to be conducted, to be submitted, that was conducted and certified by a registered engineer to determine the probable outputs of the facility as it's running on like all cylinders with all antenna being activated at once. EBI Consulting prepared a radio frequency analysis for the proposed facility. It analyzed the potential maximum radiated power for this facility with a 12 antenna in operation, located approximately 65 feet above grade. Each sector will contain antennae that operate in a variety of frequency ranges from 700 to 1900 megahertz. And combined and all working at full capacity, the report indicates that the exposure level at the nearest walking surface to the facility will be 2.5% of the maximum exposure limit for the general public as outlined by the Federal Communications Commission. And then finally, the applicant has to submit a report or information indicating the need for the installation of the facility in this location. And what they usually submit kind of like a dot analysis of in-home and out-of-home coverage before and after, which is proprietary. But what it shows essentially is that the facility will provide coverage for customers between Riverside Drive and Eastlake Avenue, extending to the city limits on Eastlake and then into the Brewington neighborhood. It's a very large area of the city that has a pretty poor coverage for AT&T at this point. The proposed telecommunications site and facility meets all requirements outlined in the Watsonville Municipal Code, including setbacks, design, and height limits. And the project will allow for AT&T Wireless to provide better coverage for their customers. Therefore, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the project as conditioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Questions for staff? Rick?
Well, 2 things. Number one, I don't imagine that monopine looks any more realistic in person than it does in the picture. It looks like you can pretty much tell it's an antenna, I would guess, right? And then the other question I have is, I know that we don't have a lot of discretionary decision-making on this. If it meets all the requirements that it needs to technically, and we can't deny it for health reasons, what discretionary power do we have at all on this? If it meets all of the requirements, we cannot deny it for a health issue. Do we have any discretionary authority on this at all, or is it almost a situation where we almost have to approve it, it seems like? At least last time it seemed that way.
Unless
Say it's
there's,
an eyesore? I mean, not that we would, but can that be?
you could send them back to the drawing board for design issues, but that is something that probably would be overcome with, you know, additional work on design of the facility perhaps. But aside from that,
Because it meets the health requirements, it meets, or we can't discuss that portion of it. It meets all of the requirements, so it's just simply a matter of, like I said, just a matter of whether it fits the area, in our opinion, and nevertheless, they would have a right to reapply then, right?
exactly. I mean, you could find that, you know, it doesn't fit the landscaping in the park. There are design issues that you have discretion over on this. But again, it meets all of the basic requirements of the telecommunications ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
But have you?
I have a few questions. Now, they looked at other sites. What was the reasons that they couldn't utilize them? I mean, they had other options.
AT&T's had a lot of trouble finding. There's just that there are not a lot of options in this area of the city. There are not a lot of zoning districts where our code allows telecommunications facilities where you can actually put up a tower like this. Eastlake Avenue, for the most part, is neighborhood commercial, which doesn't allow them. And then thoroughfare commercial, which is most of Freedom Boulevard, also it only allows sites to be placed on a building, but no freestanding towers. And so they've been trying for, I'd say, 3 or 4 years to get better coverage in the Freedom and Eastlake areas of the city. And they're just really, first you have to find a zoning district where it's allowable, and then you would have to get property owner approval to go forward with the application.
What about the location of the park? Why was it decided to put it right next to the baseball field?
I think they proposed to put it there because it meets the distance requirements from all the residential in the school. And then originally, I think they were considering perhaps putting it on one of the light standards for the baseball fields. But they chose instead to put a freestanding. They looked at doing a flagpole, different things, and it came down to just this.
Let me ask this question. Why do we have regulations of it has to be so far away from schools and residentials, but there's nothing in there about parks where we could have 600 to 700 kids playing on a baseball field on a weekend?
When we originally adopted the telecommunications ordinance, public facilities and institutional zoning districts, it was included as a potentially allowable use or conditionally allowable use. Whereas residential and, I mean, the flip side is we don't have any control over what PVUSD does. They could go to the school district and ask for lease space at Ansoldo School. And there are no, there's no distance requirements or anything on there either.
So it could have been placed in the middle of the school.
Yeah. There's actually several schools around the state that have cell towers, in their football fields, on the light standards, that kind of thing.
But do we have any here in the city of Watsonville, in
No.
any schools?
No.
Other questions for staff? Jenny?
And how many of these monopines, is that what they're called, do we have in the city? Would this be the only one?
Oh, gosh. I think so.
No, there's one on Lee Road.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There is one.
Where the auto dismantling place is, that is monopine stuck in amongst eucalyptus trees, but you can't really see it. It works. It doesn't stick straight up like this. We have several other ones that don't have any masking, and those are much more obvious. And I think there's what, 13?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's like 13 towers in the city, plus a numerous ones that are co-located on buildings.
Other questions for staff? See none, thank you. Is there someone here, the applicant? Cindy Hanks from Bechtel Communications?
I don't have any comments to make. Susie did a fine job, but just going through the reports, and I'm new to California. Well, I'm a year, but I didn't start on this, but I do note in my reports that they looked at every building close by in the area, because actually buildings are cheaper for AT&T, and the buildings were not high enough and did not achieve the level of coverage. I'm kind of with you on the monopines. I do have pictures. They don't look very natural, but they don't look as bad as you'd think either. I think the location tends to make a big difference how they look. We have several I'm from Utah. We have several in Utah, and as long as it's kind of a natural area with even any kind of other trees, it looks more natural. We have one in Utah, a schoolyard that they just put right back in the corner, a big monopine, and that doesn't blend in very well. I think the best use for this park. We would consider other design issues if that's how you felt. But as Susie pointed out, a lot of time and study has gone into this. They've tried many, many other things. A monopine is very expensive, so there are probably other options that would have been much cheaper. Questions?
Questions for the applicant?
I do have one. In our packet, it says Watsonville Elks Lodge was not a viable location from engineering.
Well, and it says that it doesn't say, it didn't work. They go out there and they set up little antennas to test it. The RF engineers do, and I'm not an RF engineer, but I've just seen how they do this. So it does mention that the other buildings are too short. It appears to me that maybe the trees around maybe blocked coverage. The antennas can't see through, barriers like trees. So they tested it and it failed on an engineering basis.
So this monopine is going to be out in the middle of nowhere all by itself?
Well, it's going to be in the park where there are other trees.
I don't think there's any other trees out there.
I thought the photos
They're just
showed
smaller.
a couple.
Yeah, I think they're
About
just
half the
really
size.
small.
Yeah.
Well, they'll grow. Over time, this will look better.
Well, and the other benefit is,
Yeah.
as Susie's pointed out, AT&T is allowed to have a pole in the correct jurisdiction here and according to your standards, but at least in this instance, the city gets the money. The money comes right back to the city for use in the city programs as opposed to going to a private landlord. The lease is currently being negotiated with the Watsonville city right now.
Do you know why the light tower over the fields wouldn't have been a better choice? Was there a technical reason, or they just went with the monopine?
I think they felt, I did not hear any technical reason.
'Cause it seems like those are pretty tall,
Mm-hmm.
and they're there.
Well, and maybe that was part of it. The way things are designed now, and understand I'm not an engineer, so this is just in my language, but they can't shoot too far or they'll overshoot their reach. So what they're designing for now are the closer, smaller distances for, your iPhones and for all of the apps. So what it looked like to me were the top of that, and these are two different rad centers. So it'd be a light pole with antennas not right at the top, but juggled down, so which may or may not be more obtrusive looking.
I'm going to throw that question at the staff. Has it been looked at? Have you talked to the owners of the light poles?
I remember, the discussions on this have gone back about 2 years. And originally we did talk to the owner of the light standards out there. And I can't exactly remember why they chose not to go with the light standards. It might have been the actual cost of each light standard itself, or not wanting to modify where they were or what was on it, or whether they weren't, well, I guess they're tall enough. There was some reason that it wasn't an optimal place to put the antenna.
To me, it sounds like a more logical choice to put them on the light pole than putting a 30-something foot tree.
The city
in the middle
doesn't
of the
own,
park.
the light poles aren't owned by the city?
No, that area is leased out. Yeah. It might have even been the location of electrical to the site and what they would have to dig up to actually attach to the light pole. I honestly don't remember.
Are they planning on, when they trenching out to this site, going down the driveway there? Because I just found out that they're getting ready to pour concrete out there next week.
No, I believe the nearest electrical is in the vicinity of the dog park.
So they're not going down the street, they're going around the dog park?
Yeah.
Dobie?
Have you ever been requested to plant more trees?
Yes, we have.
And the result?
That's a condition of approval. We will be happy to do that.
Well, could we have a comment from our Parks and Recreation Director on the desirability?
Who just happens to be in the audience.
She's sorry she came.
To perhaps add some element of naturalness?
In regards to your question about possibly requiring additional trees to be planted, I think we would have to really look at the area, the type of tree, and also consult with the Ed Kelly Foundation, who operates the ball fields. I would also want to look at maintenance of trees and care, what the impacts would be to our department. But I think it's something that could be explored.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Other questions for the applicant?
What kind
What?
of, oh, sorry.
Jenny, and then Marty?
I know that we're not supposed to address any health issues, but what is the impact, the difference, just for my information, the difference between having one of these big towers and having something lower at different buildings? Is the impact different, or?
And I understand again, this is all anecdotal information on my part. I've been doing this since 1996. Up higher, it dissipates better. Lower, your beam, just my experience with sites that I've built or here in California, if they're down low, you have to, and AT&T is very, very heavily regulated by the FCC, and we have to do a test measure, we do a theoretical study of everything we do, and then if they show on this study that there's any impact greater than 5%, then we have to put barriers up and not allow access to the site. So while in this instance the higher coverage is required for the line of sight and for distance to connecting to other towers, it's just been my experience from what I've seen on my own studies that the lower ones have a greater area of possible exposure.
Marty?
So I'm looking at the plan. The square footage of the space is going to take up is 20 by 40 feet, fenced-in area. That's an awful big area in a small.
It is. There's a very, very large amount of equipment that's required to be inside the enclosure. Just based on the technology, we now have 3 separate technologies, and we have to have a cabinet inside of there probably as big as this to cover that technology. So it is the equipment that will be inside of it, inside of that shelter that we are building to match your current buildings.
The outside fencing is made out of wood, correct?
As you would choose, yes.
Now, what kind of damage can these light poles take? Can they get hit by a baseball?
My experience has been, we're doing one at San Ramon High School in San Ramon. The light pole has to meet certain standards, so they are designed and installed by Musco Lighting. And so yes, they are required to provide us with a structural analysis showing that it will support the antennas and the lights, so that has to be a pretty bulky structure to support all of that stuff. And yes, it can sustain that kind of.
So baseball hits the antenna, no damage?
I'm not going to say no, but very little.
Then who would be liable if a baseball hit it?
It's our problem. I think the lease states, and as I've seen in my other leases, that we are solely responsible for our own property, and the landlord is only responsible for acts of negligence. And that's being negotiated right now. I'm not sure, the lease hasn't been worked out, but we are responsible and maintain our own equipment.
So I know that area gets tagged a lot, gets a lot of paintings and that kind of stuff. Who will be responsible to maintain that? Would that be the city of Watsonville?
That would be
or
us.
AT&T?
That would be us.
How would that work? Would someone from the city call AT&T?
I've been there when they've done it.
And what's the time frame for coming out and fixing something?
Typically, on a landlord request, it's no more than 3 to 5 days.
Other questions for the applicant?
Have you looked at other areas in the park? Why was this location picked?
I honestly can't tell you. I wasn't here at this time. I think, as Susie mentioned, it's the distance required from residential, and it's my understanding in the past too that that doesn't have to do with radiation. It has to be the distance if that a fall zone. So if that tower fell down, it has to be a certain number of feet. That's how jurisdictions work. It's not going to fall down, but it has to be a certain number of feet just for the fall zone.
So if it fell down, it could land on little kids playing baseball?
But I've worked in this since 1996. Never known one to fall down.
Possibility.
A lot of things are a possibility,
Thank you.
Other questions for applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, so I'd like to open it up to the public. Anyone from the public who wants to come and address this item, just state your name and.
My name is Arthur Salas. I live at 135 Marcella Drive. I don't know where they came up with that name. Okay, so the problem here with that thing, as you can see, it's an eyesore right from the get-go. 90 feet in any direction when kids are playing, it's going to land on somebody. We're not saying that it will fall, but if it ever did, it would hurt somebody really bad. They'd be liable, you'd be liable. Other thing is, you were saying about the Elks. Well, she was saying about the Elks that it blocked the coverage. Well, if it's 90 feet tall, how does it block coverage? You know, and then one of you said something about over by Couch, the
Lee Road.
Excuse me, Lee Road, that there's antennas amongst trees. An antenna there that blends right in. Well, there's plenty of other areas in that side of town where you could put an antenna tower that would blend in with trees. I mean, again, it is 90 feet tall. Also, 3 to 4 years is how long you've been planning this. Why are we just hearing about it now? You know, we should have been told from day one. I've been there for 9 years. And this is, you know, I'm going to say 6 months ago, 8 months ago maybe, when everybody was out there walking, I just happened to ask somebody, hey, what's going on out here? Oh, they want to put a cell tower out here. I said, are you kidding me? I mean, the subdivision is named Vista Montaña, which means the view of the mountains. Is that a view of a mountain? That's a view of an eyesore. I understand you were saying about if you had to put more trees. Well, she said, you know, putting the cell tower there would bring revenue to the city. Well, you're going to take that revenue, plant more trees, which they would pay for, AT&T, I'm guessing, but then Parks and City would need that money to maintain those trees. So the revenue's gone to the city. It's basically for maintenance, year-round. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Veronica Melgoza, and I'm here to represent Ansaldo Elementary School parents. I am the president for the School Science Council, and I'm here because we are very concerned about it, especially even though they say they might not have any health issues, but they have research that shows that they do have some health issues. And so our parents are very concerned, and I am representing them. We did some signatures, and we had over more than 100 signatures, and that was only because we only did them yesterday and today. So imagine if we do it more than a week. I know most of the parents are going to be signing that paper because, she mentioned, it's within the school zone, and we have children day every day, 5 days out of week, and most of them are there for more than 10 hours because they stay for the after-school program. So it's just something to consider that children are there, and they're from K through 5th, which it's when they're developing, and it does have consequences. So I'm just here to represent Ansaldo Elementary School and me as a parent.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Marisol Zamora, and I'm a resident and a teacher of this district, and I'm also a resident of Vista Montaña. When I heard about this, I was very concerned, not only as a teacher, but as a resident of the area. I moved into Vista Montaña about 9 years ago, and as a resident, I've been taking advantage of walking my dog to the park. I've been walking almost 2 or 3 times a week, and I'm very concerned about the health issues, the long-term effects of radiation exposure of myself and the people around the neighborhood, and especially the kids. On Saturday mornings, there's soccer leagues that come and use the facility. There's baseball leagues also. So it's a very nice community where people take advantage of the park and the facilities. And I don't think that that's going to be possible anymore if they find out that they're going to put this tower that is going to be exposed for them for radiation. So again, I would really want all of you guys to consider the long-term effects of this. And as a resident and as a teacher, I'm very concerned. I love where I live and where I work, but if this is going to happen, I'm going to be forced to think twice about living in this in this beautiful neighborhood.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Yolanda Melgoza, and I'm a teacher, and I'm also a resident at Vista Montaña. And it's really interesting to hear that they're concerned about bringing us money, revenue. What about property taxes? Did you know that when you put those antennas, the property values decline by a lot? So you're losing money on our taxes. That's number one. So I would like for you to really consider, if you're thinking about money, well, let's think about money. You're going to be losing on property taxes. But that's not my only concern. My concern is the children. I'm a teacher for a passion. Like you know, teachers do not make a lot of money, but we have a great passion. I got here a little bit late because I just took a group of 40 students to Stanford University. And to hear this, I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it. Students, we have Ansaldo across the street. I heard so many feet away from the school. I don't think so. I mean, the plan, it says 795 Vista Montaña Drive. We have a lot of apartments there. We have 790, 780, 750. That's only like 30 feet across. So I don't know who did the math or how they measure, but I think that's inaccurate. Also, I have a concern about the inequitable resources that were presented to residents. If you knew this 3 years ago, research having done 3 years ago, A week ago, I happened to get this letter on the mail saying that there's a public hearing today here. Don't you think that if something this important is going to be presented, you need to give us more time? I'm a teacher, I'm really busy, so sometimes I don't have time to read my mail right away. I happened to read my letter, I opened the letter, and we started a petition. And I would like to present you with more than 200 signatures that were collected from yesterday to today. So here's a copy. So on behalf of other residents and myself, I would respectfully request that you reject this proposal. I'm also gonna come tomorrow to the city mayor. I'm gonna give him a copy of the signatures, and I'm gonna be collecting more signatures. So please reject this proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do you want to leave that petition? Yes, thank you. Anyone else wants to address this item? This is a public hearing.
Good evening. I'm Sylvia Mendez. I'm the principal of Ansoldo Elementary School, and I just want to give you some sense of how many students we're talking about. So we currently have 698 students, 5 years old to 11. Of those 698 students, probably 510 are English learners. So their parents don't necessarily speak English. So think about the large percentage of parents that unfortunately may not have received this information about this proposal for doing the cell tower. And I too am very busy. I usually have a 10 to 12 hour a day work day. And you know, I just found out about this 3 days ago. So I know that many of my teachers are very concerned about the possibility of a cell tower. We can see this, we would see this large tree from our front yards. Just to give you another sense of our students, 90% of our parents are qualified, their children qualify for free or reduced lunch. So basically they're under the poverty level. You know, the apartments are here low incoming. So many of them are working out in the fields. So again, they wouldn't be able to be here present, you know, to talk about the issues that they're concerned about. And I can fully understand that you can't, you know, take into account the issues of health and safety. But I do want you to know that, you know, it is close to 700 children that are there at the school. And yes, they are there from 7 in the morning until 5:30 in the evening. So a large part of their day is spent on these grounds. We use the playground equipment, the Franich Park. Many of our children go as a special treat to walk in the park, to play on the playgrounds. And so I'd really like you to take this issue into larger consideration and not necessarily make the decision tonight, but to gather more information and to really allow the community and the parents of these children to voice their concerns about building this cell tower so close to our school. 243 feet is not very much. It's not very large distance from, you know, our playground and our wonderful children that we're working with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvia.
I'm sorry, I just forgot to add. When I said inequity of access to information, also the letter was only in English. So as a city, the letter that I got was only in English. So if I didn't speak English, guess what? I wouldn't be able to read it.
Just on the language, I apologize. I don't know how you got only one. I received one too, and it was English and Spanish. So I'm sorry.
Maybe we picked the residents that we sent it to?
No,
Did we look at
ma'am.
names?
It's an
How do we
automatic
decide?
process. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because maybe my name is in Spanish, Hispanic, you send it to me in English?
Excuse
or I
me,
don't-
I'm sorry. It is an
Yeah,
automatic
okay, we're not gonna go there, but
It was a
I only got it
bilingual
in
letter.
English. So
It
just for
was
you
a
to make
bilingual
notes.
letter.
Thank
I
you.
assure you.
Thank you.
that it was a
This is a public hearing?
I have one more thing to say.
Okay.
Let's talk about the fence. You know, if you go out there, there's nothing enclosed out there. The dugouts are enclosed to keep people out from graffiti and stuff. And it's chain link fence, so you could still look in. You know, this fence is gonna be how tall? No, it can't be 6 feet. I mean, anybody can jump that.
10 feet.
10 feet. There's another eyesore. You know, you're gonna see this tower, the server rooms, 20 by 40, and that big fence. You know, if you walk out there and take a look, the park is so wide open. You know, to put an enclosure there is just, you know, the enclosure you see there is the maintenance yard, where they keep all their stuff. You know, so, I mean, a big fence like that would just add to the eyesore. And thank you again. I should have said something earlier, so.
No, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone from the public who wants to come up and address this item?
I just wanted to make one more comment. I think that I would support, as would AT&T Wireless, if there's this kind of opposition, this kind of lack of knowledge about this, we could ask possibly for continuance. And then AT&T would be happy to hold community meetings with the community, discuss the issue of maybe moving the location. There are many other options, and with a level of concern, we would prefer to meet with the community also and maybe ask for, place this on hold and ask for continuance, and until we can address those issues in a manner that'll make the planners happy.
I have just a quick question, Pedro.
Rick?
What I think we really could use is some of your engineers to be able to answer those
Absolutely.
questions.
That's what I mean.
See, the bottom line is everybody wants cell service. We all do. That's the bottom line. And nobody wants it in their neighborhood. Folks, you're no different than any other cell tower we've talked about here, and we get it. The difference here, though, is that this tree's ugly. And it's just, and there is some, if I lived in that neighborhood, I'd be discouraged. I really would be. I'd be discouraged. I bought a home, I have a beautiful park, and I got this thing sticking 9.5 stories up. I think only the Recitar is larger than this. So my question would be, I'm for improving cell service, and I understand the neighbors are going to be unhappy and tough decisions need to be made. The problem here is there's got to be a better option than this, and if there's not, I'd rather have an engineer tell me
Absolutely.
there isn't. This is it. These folks have no choice of getting better service except right here. And
Be happy to do that.
okay, I don't know if we need a community meeting as much as this committee needs more
Well,
information.
your continuance, and maybe we come again and I bring engineers and people that are more
Well,
qualified than I.
let me close the public hearing. Anyone else from the public wants to address this item? One more thing, okay. Last time.
Thank you. So this is for AT&T. Okay, so basically what you're saying is this is just for our AT&T customers. It's not for anybody else who has Verizon, Net 10, what are the other ones? T-Mobile. You know? So, I mean, so basically it's just for one certain provider. You know, and that's, you know, if let's say you do approve it. So I still don't get good cell service because I don't have AT&T. So how does that benefit me? And I live there. Thanks.
In 5 months, there'll be another proposal. There'll be another tree. No, I'm just joking.
No.
It's built co-locatable, so there is the option and absolutely the space for another carrier to go on that site, depending on their technology, maybe even two. We're not going to be up to the top. Somebody might like the top, but it is co-locatable with that in mind.
Well, then the signal will be lower, so it wouldn't work.
This is, let me just close the public hearing. Anyone else from the public wants to address the city council, planning commission? I'd like to then close the, you want to address the planning commission, sir? Could you state your name, identify yourself?
My name is Felipe Hernandez, District 1. I had a quick question. I want to make sure that we find out if notifications in Spanish were also sent. And also if PVUSD employees that work in Soldo, were they also notified of this? Because I know that last time the cemetery district was talking about this, that county employees got wind of it. And
No, we don't send to individual instructors. We send to the address of the school. It's done through the GIS process, and I'll make sure that the notice is bilingual. I'll double check it myself, but the process is done by GIS, and it's to the address. So the address of Ansoldo, the mailing address of Ansoldo, which is PVUSD, got the letter, and it's their responsibility to inform the school. We don't send it to individual teachers. We don't even have a list. So we send it to the owner of the property, which is PVUSD.
it's been like 8 hours there, probably longer.
Anyone else wants to address the planning commission on this item? I'd like to close the planning public hearing and bring it up to the commission for discussion. It's been proposed by the applicant that there could be a continuance. Can we do that? Is that something that can be done?
That's definitely within your parameters to do. You could request have the engineers come to ask additional questions, technical issues.
If I may, let me, there's two clarifications that I'm going to make that I think are important to the group. When you continue to a date certain, we don't have to renotice it. In this case, we do want to renotice it.
Yeah.
So we don't need to worry about continuing it to a date certain. We can bring it back when it's ready to come back. And that will trigger a new charge to the applicant for renoticing. And that way, we'll make sure it gets renoticed and people don't have to stay on top of it. So that's one proposal I would like to make, that we renotice the next meeting. And the second proposal is, even though they can bring engineers that can answer your questions, maybe they should answer the questions of the community first to see if that triggers any additional questions before it comes here, so the people don't hear the answer the first time when they're here, but they've had a meeting at Ansoldo School or something. So those would be my recommendations, because then people will only be hearing the engineers for the first time here, and if they have new questions. So if that pleases the Planning Commission.
I think the applicant had recommended that she would like to have
Yeah.
a neighborhood meeting.
Yeah.
And it could be at the school, since we have the principal here. People who, from the school, the parents, and people who live there could be notified. I don't know who would do this, whether it be AT&T, whether it be AT&T
Right, for a price, we can provide the mailing list,
mailing, yeah.
the mailing labels for the whole subdivision, and we can
Right.
just include the whole subdivision.
And you could have a public hearing and
Can we
there-
make a motion that they have a public hearing with the community and then it's brought to the Planning Commission?
Yeah, and I would refer to it as a public, as a community meeting rather than a
Community
public
meeting.
hearing.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion that AT&T hold a community meeting prior to bringing it back to the Planning Commission.
that we continue this, but
Not to a date certain,
not to a date, but just
whenever it's ready to come
whenever
back.
it's ready to come back. And some of the items of concern, I think, are, one, the tree is ugly.
And big.
So that's one thing to consider. Two, and I didn't read this, we all got, this should have come out in the public hearing, I apologize, from a Valerie Nelson, who lives on Arce, the long-term health effects from close exposure to cell towers have yet to be determined. I think that's going to have to be addressed. I mean, I don't know if there's any research, whether radiation, whether in 20 or 40 years people develop I don't know, but there's some concern over the health issues. So that's one thing. The other thing would be at this community meeting is that an appropriate place? I mean, you've got almost 700 students, and then you've got teachers and staff. So that, at the school, you've got all the people who go and use the park, whether it's baseball or soccer or all the other folks. Then you've got the residents. So I think what I was hearing is that the most appropriate place. Any other items, Jenny?
I would also like to have them bring probably other communities in Santa Cruz County that have these towers as well, and where they have placed them, just to get an idea of what we're looking at and how large are they, how tall are they.
And one item, if I may suggest, if AT&T could work with our Parks and Community Services Department to look at the additional tree and whether AT&T could participate in the maintenance and whether a group of trees would look any better and they can do a rendering that might be helpful.
Mireya, I think.
I just wanted to ask, Marcela, how far in advance are the notices made to be, and do they go to property owners and tenants, renters, or just to property owners?
They go to property owners. We can send them to property owners and residents. We usually don't do that for this type of development, but we could do that. The notices usually go out 10 days in advance, and that's the requirement, and we did meet the requirement. I know that I got mine more than 3 days ago. So we will do it bilingual. It's a minimum of 10 days ahead of time. And it was posted on the site, with the posters, so.
I'd like to ask that it be mailed to all tenants as well, to renters.
Sure.
I think
Can
that's
you
really
please make
important.
a note? So it will be occupant and owners.
Thanks.
So you mentioned
Marty?
it was posted
Yes.
on site?
Yes, it has to be.
How far in advance was it posted on site?
10 days.
And it was just one location?
English and Spanish.
Just one location, though?
Yes.
Can we do multiple locations? That's a big park?
Yeah, it's a standard,
It's
it's a standard size.
It's a
But can we-
stated size,
Can we
sorry.
get in multiple locations?
We could have 4.
Okay, I mean, 4 is better than 1.
Yeah, AT&T is going to get a bill. This is all general fund. It's all written. We can put on there our website where people can find this. We can give. You will have a community meeting beforehand, so you will know what the before and after will look like by the time it comes here.
Well, I mean, there's some people that are gonna go, oh, wait a minute, I need to do something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're kind of pushing the limits of the public hearing notice that's
Yeah.
posted on a park in the rain on a stick. It's a little hard.
But the website's on there, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
So AT&T will work with the city on this. There'll be advanced publicity, bilingual.
4 sites.
4 sites with, to
Okay.
get the information out.
And the pictures of before and after will be available at your community meeting.
Right.
Like, people need to come to the podium.
Chairman.
Yeah, we have a motion.
Yeah,
So
and
we have
there
a-
was also,
We have a motion for continuance with all
we're not
those
a public
conditions. Is there a second?
We also published it in the paper, just so you know, it's published, the public hearing is published too.
Not just this one view, have them take pictures, from at the apartments, looking away from.
Sure. You can discuss that at the community meeting if it's not to your satisfaction.
I'd like,
I mean,
I'd like,
there's the person that will bring you the views.
I'd like to just encourage residents of that area to, I see the passion, and this is when community organizing is important, and just step up like you have today and take pictures yourself. You can look things up. Other cities have these cell towers, and other cities have had this kind of opposition. So there's so much that the city can do. It sounds like AT&T is willing to work with the community. And I'm sure that you're going to do your part to let your neighbors know and bring what you can in terms of resources to make that the best meeting possible.
Motion by Jenny, seconded by Marty. Any discussion? We have a continuance.
Discussion on the continuance?
Yes?
On the motion.
For the motion.
Motion.
The only thing I recommend is I like to get notice to when that community
Right.
meeting's going to be.
Yeah, we'll get notice from the planning commission, so we'll be there. And knowing that the principal is here and the teachers and parents, you can get the word that this is going to be happening. So, there'll be, and with more photos, better, and if you could have engineers, health people, other discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to make a comment on this. I don't think this is an appropriate site. I don't think this is a place to put a cell tower in. I think they need to look at other options. I know the service AT&T. I have nothing against AT&T. I'm actually use AT&T, but I just don't think this is an appropriate site. I think that the enclosure itself will be tagged continuously. Besides individuals jumping into the location, there's just too many not good things about this.
Any other questions, statements on the motion? Can we have a roll call on the motion for continuance?
Jenny made the motion, but did we have a second?
Yeah, Marty.
I did.
Corley?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Gomez Concheras?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Jenkins?
Yes.
Sarmiento?
Yes.
Castillo?
Yes. Motion unanimously to continue this item at a date is yet to be determined. Thank you very much for all of you coming. It's very important. I'm glad you found out. I'm glad all of you came, both teachers, principal, community members. This is what the Planning Commission and City Council needs, is people to get involved. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 5.5. A public hearing to consider an application for a special use permit to allow the establishment of a restaurant, bar, and billiard hall, the Miramar, with beer and wine sales, type 41A license, at 522 Main Street, filed by Juan Yepes, the applicant. Again, we'll start with staff presentation. Susie, God, they're overworking you.
No comment. Thank you, Chair Castillo, members of the commission. Approximately 6 months ago, the Planning Commission adopted a resolution to revoke the special use permit for alcohol sales at the Miramar due to a variety of alcohol-related issues that occurred between 2012 and 2013. The applicant, Juan Yepes Garcia, has waited the 6-month waiting period that was established in the revocation 6 months ago. He's continued operation of the business without alcohol sales, and he's submitted a new special use permit application to allow the sale of beer and wine again at the business. The proposal is a little bit different this time. He is proposing to continue operation of the billiard room and the restaurant with beer and wine sales like before. However, he's proposing to convert the bar area to a second billiard hall. So there will be 2 additional pool tables in the bar area. And that area would be sectioned off, and minors would not be allowed in that area either. The owner is requesting the allowance of mariachis during the day on the weekends between 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. only, and that would be the only entertainment allowed at the business. Now, just to look at the proposed new floor plan. This is the existing billiard hall with the pool tables. We've got the dining room and the kitchen. There's that corridor that goes out to the back door and the bathrooms. And then this is the bar area, which they're proposing to close off completely from the dining room and then add 2 pool tables at the rear. The proposed hours for the business are Sunday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Based on the past history with the restaurant, we did at one point reduce the hours to, I believe, 10 and 11 weekdays, weekends, and there were significantly less problems during that time period. That was also a time period where no entertainment was allowed, and we really had no police-related problems with those reduced hours and no entertainment. Now, to just go through the Type 41 license that's issued by ABC, it allows the sale of beer and wine for consumption on the premises. No distilled spirits are allowed, and meals must be available during normal meal times. For this project, minors will only be allowed in the restaurant. They will not be allowed in either the bar and billiard hall or the adjacent billiard hall due to the requirements of the Watsonville Municipal Code. Now, since the revocation of the special use permit in June, no police-related incidents have been reported at the business. Again, those significant issues in the past related to late night hours and entertainment in conjunction with alcohol sales. And so we're hoping that with reduced hours and no live entertainment, that adverse impacts will be reduced or eliminated. And again, the special use permit allows for us to place conditions on the project. The conditions for this are no alcohol sales before 11 a.m. Mariachis only allowed between 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. No dancing, DJs, karaoke, or amplified music at any time, and that hours be limited to 10 a.m. during the week and 10 p.m. during the week and 11 p.m. on the weekends. The business owner has demonstrated that he is able to manage the business without incident, without alcohol sales. He has looked at the operation of the business and feels that closing off the bar area to minors will reduce impacts to the business. We have had no reports of anything going on at the business over the last 6 months. And again, in the past, with limited hours and no entertainment, we really haven't had any problems with the business. So it's for these reasons that staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the project as conditioned. Thanks.
Thank you, Susie. Questions for staff? Aurelio?
Yeah, I have one here. On the floor plan, it says the owner is going to be modifying the interior physically to close the bar area off. On this little sketch, all that shows a dot, 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 dot. How's he going to do this? How's he going to physically close off the bar? Is he going to demo the bar and get rid of it completely?
No, there's
the doors out?
There are actually, there's walls coming through here, and there's a couple actual doorways, so those can actually be modified to close it off from the dining room.
My question is, whoops, sorry. I guess my question would be is if he's going to modify the doors and close them off, how's he going to get food in there?
Sorry. Right now, the doors are like saloon doors going between the restaurant and the bar. So those would be made solid doors. There's similar doors going into the billiard room, and there's a big sign on them that says, I mean, not saloon doors, but regular doors going into the billiard room. And there's a big sign that says no one under 21 allowed. So there's signage and then the solid full door barrier in there. So you can physically get in and out, but minors couldn't get in and out, and that area would be monitored.
Then one more question on the conditions. I don't see anything in here that says about leads training. Are we taking that out?
He has actually submitted evidence that all of his servers and he himself have attended lead training in the last year.
But can we put that in the conditions if we
Of
wanted to?
course we can, yes.
In case if he hires anybody in the next 2 months, hopefully.
Yes, we can do that.
Questions for staff? Jenny?
So what about the door? I'm looking at the door between the bathrooms. That's an outside door?
No, actually this kind of runs off the paper. So the back, I mean, the exterior door of the building is a little bit beyond here. So I guess, yeah, kind of where, like if you imagine that's the very back of the building. So there's actually a door right here going into the bar area. And then I believe there's one more door right here. There might be 2 entryways, if I can remember. So those would actually be made solid doors to limit access. And then again, this one would also remain closed. So people in this area of the business could get to the bathrooms. People in the restaurant area could use the corridor and still get to the bathrooms and come in and out the back. It's just to make those more solid barriers versus
And a
the balloon
follow-up
doors and
question to
walkways.
that. So who would monitor the access to that new area? Because if I look at this and someone's going to the restrooms, they could easily go into that pool area through another door, right? Will somebody be there?
I doubt that they're going to have someone manning each one of the doors during all operating hours, but each server that is in each section of the restaurant or bar or billiard hall is responsible for managing and policing that area and managing who comes in and out.
Is there any way we can go for the conditions to go back to the 10 o'clock closing and no entertainment?
10 o'clock
Like, as somebody
closing
has
on the
stated earlier,
weekend?
Baby steps here, going back to the baby
Sure,
steps.
sure.
I mean, let's first go ahead and, I think we should just first go ahead and do the beer and wine with the regular 10-hour closing.
Okay.
Instead of the extended.
10 o'clock on the weekend, no mariachis?
No mariachis.
You could modify the conditions to do that, yes.
Other questions for staff?
One more. The video cameras, do you know if the Watsonville Police Department has approved those yet?
I believe they have. I do believe we have a representative from the police department here tonight that can confirm that for you.
Okay. We'd like to hear from him. He's been sitting back there.
I haven't received any word from the Miramar about their cameras. So frequently I'll get calls from businesses that intend to put in a camera system, such as the California Grill, who was earlier speaking here. They contacted me this week. Had a fine discussion with them about it, but I haven't heard anything from the Miramar. So I wish I had something to report to you, but I don't.
So there's no cameras there that you know of?
No, I believe the cameras were installed. Yeah. They've been installed.
But there's been no update on anything.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a need.
Excuse me, but I don't mean to disagree with the police, but remember when there was the burn victim, we were actually able to review the entire thing on cameras, and there was a control room with the screen with all the cameras. I have seen it. I don't know if it's been dismantled, but it was there. If you remember, there was a burn victim. It was an accident, and the fire department and I went into this room and did review the camera footage. And the owner did know how to replay it for us.
And that's quite possible. If there was a need for a change in those cameras, there hasn't been any. But
yeah, we need to make sure they're still in and they're still functional. And I think that would be the condition to make sure to review that everything is in place. But they were in place.
Yeah. We can just make a condition that the police go and check to make sure that they're there and they're working.
Mm-hmm. And they're in the right places.
Yeah.
And we haven't done any checks. Basically, we haven't had any calls for service. Because with the revocation of the current permit, there hasn't been any issues there. They haven't been serving any alcohol, so that was the crux of the issue before.
Thank you. Other questions for staff?
So we don't have the business owner here?
Yeah, Mr. Yepes is here.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. Mr. Yepes is here, so, yeah. Mr. Yepes, do you want to answer questions, or? You've got a photo, I think, of the...
I got the cameras going right now. So if someone want to see it, so that's available. Okay, any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Yepes? Rick?
You know, I wanted to ask you, do you own any other restaurants, or is this the only one?
That's the only one.
Okay. And I know this is kind of a general question. You know, we meet again here 6 months later. Tell us, at least for yourself, what's changed? Why should we approve it today after taking it away just 6 months ago? What's changed?
Well, I'm concentrating more in the buffet thing. So I'm working more to provide better food business.
You're focusing more on your food now rather than
the food and
the other
billers and buffet. What creates me problems, I think, that was the music in the night. I didn't know, you know. I learned it from that mistake or from the past. So that's why I don't want to have any of that. So I just want to keep buffet and billers with to provide alcohol to some of the people and go there and enjoy, you know.
And the mariachis, I like that. So what are you going to do? Like table-to-table stuff?
Yeah,
Like what they do
I
over
would like to have
Jalisco's
that
and-
just in the day, not in the night, because in the night was a problem. So that's why I'm asked only in the day. I think from like Sundays is when I get more busy, and when there is people playing pools, they want to hear sometimes music alive. So that's why I ask you for the permit from 1 to 6 at least, you know.
So you think that'll increase your business?
Yeah.
And not cause any problems?
Exactly.
How about the billiard room? You know, it's going to be, you know, I'm sure people under 21 are going to want to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have some sort of plan? Do you think you can keep an eye on it? Is this going to become the next problem issue, do you think, for you, the billiard
No.
room, or you think you can?
I can control. I'm gonna try to have one people charge of each place at least, and a visit time, probably more if I need, to manage to control those people.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Yepes?
I
Marty?
do have a question. Explain to me, how do you plan to maintain or keep out the minors from the area? Because that was an issue before.
Mm-hmm. Well, first thing, I'm not gonna have music like it used to be, you know, which is more attention to the minors or to people, you know. Now I know pretty much most of my clients, so I know they older, you know, and I know who is gonna be playing where, you know, most of the time. It's like always the same people that I have. It's weird when I have other people that I don't know, you know. So as soon as I saw new faces, so, you know, I'm gonna find out right away.
So is both billiard rooms serving alcohol?
Yes.
Or is one going to be for minors, one going to be over 21?
The thing is, on the two tables area, it's a big bar. I try to ask the landlord to remove it because I don't want to have it, but I prefer have another 2 tables there. But she didn't allow me, so I said, well, it's gonna be a bar all the time there. So in this side, I can have just for minors because it's 4 tables. In that side, it's only 2 tables, but I can have just for minors because it's a bar there. So I prefer don't have any minors. I would like to have a place especially for minors, you know, because there's people that want to play.
Have you thought of the idea of maybe making a certain hours that you don't sell any alcohol and it's open up for minors?
Well, that can be in the week, non-weekends, I guess.
Then my other question would be security. Are you going to have any security on site?
I'm gonna have it when I have like a band, you know, like let's say.
Like a band?
No, event like the fight of some fighting or the USC fight, you know. When I see then there's people I want to see, I want to have somebody, you know, security.
But not every day?
No, because I can afford it, but if I get busy, I'm going to think about it. I would like to have one, keep an eye on my cameras all the time, but as soon as I get busy, why not?
Regarding the cameras, do you have cameras in each space?
Yes.
All 3 rooms?
Yes.
Front door, back door?
Yes. By the main side, no, but on the back, yes.
So there's nothing facing Main Street?
No, not to the no outside, but inside, you know.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Yepes? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, so I'd like to open the public hearing. Anyone wants to address this item from the public? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing and bring it up to the commission for discussion. Aurelio mentioned doing away with the mariachis. I think Rick wanted to keep the mariachis. I like mariachis also. I like mariachis also.
No, I do too. I
Okay.
like mariachis also. Don't get me wrong on that. It's just that, you know, due to the circumstances that we've been going through with this business, I think it's important that we go back to taking those first steps again, and then maybe 3 months down the line that we can see that there is no alcohol issues with this business, because that was his main problem, was the alcohol issues to minors in his billiard areas. And I just don't want to send the wrong messages saying, okay, now you can get mariachis, and then before you know it, he has a little banda in there, or, you know, it's just something that I'd rather just
Baby steps.
the baby steps, as we say, you know what I mean? And I can feel comfortable 6 months from now and saying, okay, we're going to give you the mariachis, and we'll allow it to extend your hours. And that's how I'm taking this.
Something to keep in mind, members of the commission, is item 7 on the conditions. If we approve this, permit is valid until January 1, 2020, right? So is there coming back to us? I mean, so this is not a 3 months, it's not a 6 months, it's...
We can add a condition that it come back. I mean, that's what we usually do, so.
No, I just raised it to make sure that we understand what...
I do have a question for staff, though, regarding the fights or the UFC. Does that involve a special use permit?
They're only watching TV in the restaurant area, or the bar area, no.
I don't think it would, yeah.
It's like having TVs at Carpo's. I mean, it's there and whatever you put on.
But if he
I
charges
like
for them?
Aurelio's recommendations.
Oh, yeah, I guess that...
But if he charges for them, does that fall in a special?
Under entertainment or something like that?
If he was charging, that would be something that you would have to get a permit for, entertainment permit.
If he charged his
If he's
patrons
charging
to see the fight.
to see the fight. But if he has the fight in and people are just watching it, then that just TV.
Do we know what the hours were when we took away the beer and wine? What was he open till midnight at 1 at that point, or?
Well, the beer hall was open, I mean, the pool hall was open till 2, and alcohol was supposed to be done at midnight. So
Right.
that was the previous conditions, and then it got cut back to 10, and then you let them go again to the original hours, and that's with entertainment, and that's when we had the problems.
Have we had problems at this establishment with the 10 and 11 o'clock closings? Is that
No.
been an issue?
No. No, without the entertainment seemed to be the instigator of problems for it. So I don't think the 10 and 11 are probably going to be a problem, as long as there's no entertainment.
In a way, I feel awkward here fighting for Mr. Yepes to increase his ability to run his business with the mariachis and so on, but I'm still for that. I'd like the business to succeed. You're in a big part of Main Street there, and it's tough to see a lot of problems with the mariachis going table to table at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, where that could create a bad situation for folks. But, you know, I'll see how the commission feels. But I'm going to go ahead and I will move to approve the application and special use permit, but I will ask for a 6-month review that we come back and take a look at this.
Any other conditions that you want to put, Rick?
No.
Is there a second, Toby?
I ask for a kindly add-on, is that we add in leads training?
Yes, I have no
Leads
issue with
training
it.
is at all times.
Mhm.
Toby?
I'd like to ask a little clarification, apparently, about our municipal code. My apologies for not having read this carefully. What are the requirements of the Watsonville Municipal Code with respect to billiard rooms?
You can't have anybody 21. It's restricted to 21 and over. So you cannot have it for underage.
You can't have alcohol in the pool room. It's a permit through the police department, and there are certain restrictions regarding pool rooms and the service of alcohol. If you just had a pool room with no alcohol sales, then I believe they allow minors in during certain hours. But once you have alcohol service and sales, then no minors are allowed.
Would it be possible in this case for the applicant to have billiards available for young people at times when alcohol was not being served?
You know, I think that's a good idea in intent, but enforcement would be very difficult.
I'm afraid of setting them up.
I was a
Jenny?
chair. I was going to suggest that we don't enter into that discussion because there are more appropriate places for youth to have certain activities where they're not exposed to any alcohol or in an environment where it's used for these type of events. I would like to see if we're going to have pool halls or pool tables in like at the youth center or some other centers where it's only for after-school activities or pro-social activities. So I really would like to leave that conversation out of our discussion.
The hours are such, alcohol and, beer and wine will be served, therefore, it's 21 and over. If you start making exceptions, then it gets complicated, then, we want them to be successful. Aurelio?
Yeah, can I just have, Rick read his motion that he made?
So I made a motion to approve with a 6-month review and that all of the employees go through the lead training, even though I guess they have, but those that may come on board in the future or during this period. And we'll take a look at it in 6 months. But I understand if you have issues with, I don't think I have a second, do I?
Yes,
I need
I
a
have a
second.
second.
Second by Dobie? Now we can, did you want to modify that, Aurelio, or change it, or?
No.
Any modifiers? Other conditions? Any discussion?
Well, I think the condition was to bring it back in 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Make sure that this mariachi is working and.
Yeah.
I have a
Mireya?
question, just for staff. Through what time were they open with entertainment when there were problems?
1 o'clock.
Through 1 o'clock. So this is the earliest.
Yeah, there was a provision one time when we were having problems, we cut back the hours to 10
10. Okay.
And the only entertainment will be the mariachis
in the afternoons.
in the afternoon on Saturday and Sunday.
No evening
Friday.
mariachis.
No, wait.
Mariachis just Saturday and Sunday?
But if Cinco de Mayo falls on a Tuesday
No later than 6.
or a holiday, I almost should maybe do holidays too. I know that ends up being a case sometimes.
Well,
Yeah.
they'll come back before Cinco de Mayo.
Let's not make it confusing.
So we can cover it then. Any other,
And this is all going to include the whole facility, right? Not just the restaurant, there'll be the billiard rooms and
Yeah.
all.
other comments? We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Corley,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes?
Gomez Contreras.
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes?
Sarmiento,
Yes.
Castillo.
Yes, unanimously, it's been approved, Mr. Yepes.
Good luck.
Good luck, hope you make it. I don't want to see you here again, but we will see you in 6 months. You want us to see us at the Miramar, okay. Thank you. Report of Secretary, don't back up yet.
Well, it's very brief. I don't have any specific thing, but what I would like to share with you is that we are getting way busier. And you're going to see a lot more things happening. And as projects start coming in, anybody who submits a pre-application, which is not required, but a lot of them do, we give it for information purposes only in the binder to the council. And as soon as I make it available to the council, I'll make it available to you. And you'll start getting previews of what's coming. I don't know if you noticed the construction next to Grocery Outlet. It's a 10,000 square foot Dollar Tree. It's funny because it's a Dollar Tree, but every time I go buy something for $1, it costs me $8. And for every one of those dollars, there's a tax. So I guess it adds up.
It's a hook to bring you in.
So that's all. You'll see a lot more construction coming. Thank you.
The next meeting is Tuesday, December 3rd. Put it on your calendar.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I have a question for Marcela. What is there a project going on in Ramsey Park? I mean, I drove by and there's a there's fencing and there's equipment on the parking lot. Yeah, in the parking lot.
Something going on at Ramsey Park?
Yeah, she's here. I don't know of anything.
He's doing it behind you. No.
Yeah. Did you get a permit?
Did you get a permit for
They
doing
had to
that?
come through our process.
I went through the fast track of getting permits. No, it's PG&E is doing some work out there with their routine work. So they're going to be doing it for a period of, I think at least 30 days, if not more. But they did check in with all the departments, and we granted them ability to do that.
Thank you, Ana. Other questions? Mireya?
Tomorrow, the 6th of November, is the Downtown Public Forum.
Right, in the
here.
room next door at
In the
6
room next
p.m.,
door.
please. You're all invited. It's important for you to hear what the public is hoping for the downtown.
Right.
The stakeholders, which includes the business and property owners of the downtown, have been meeting for quite a while and have been developing some priorities, and they will be discussed tomorrow.
Mhm.
Everybody's invited, please. 6 o'clock.
Tomorrow?
In community room next door.
Wednesday.
Tomorrow, Wednesday, from 6 to 8.
Other questions or comments? Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.